Hello, viewers. Thank you for watching my show, MAO Chat. This is Season 1, Episode 2. My guest for today is Miss America 2010, Caressa Cameron. And I would like to go ahead and jump in the interview. Miss America 2010, Caressa Cameron, thank you so much for being on the show.
Honored to be here.
It is an honor to have you on the show. I'm a big fan of yours. So we have a connection. You were crowned Miss Virginia. I was a director in Miss Virginia. I was actually there at Miss Arlington when you were crowned. And I always wanted the best for Virginia. And so it turned out to be you.
Yeah.
If you can think back to your Miss Virginia moment, your Miss America crowning moment, how were you feeling? What was going through your mind in those moments when you were crowned?
So Miss Virginia for me was like the ultimate, like I had worked 4 years at that point to become Miss Virginia. And you know, my husband's a basketball coach now, and we always say it's easier to lose a game by 20 than by 2. And for the 3 years prior to that, it felt like I was losing the game by 2. It was like second runner up, first runner up. You're like, you're so close. And then when you ask for feedback and they're like, oh, we really don't have anything. It's just different girl, different judge, different day, which is very true. That for me just felt like the culmination of so much hard work, especially considering I had considered not competing ever again in after year. And I will never forget, it was at the Miss Virginia Afterglow party. A little girl came up to me. She was part of the Princess program. I'll never forget her. Her name was Reagan Jackson. And she said, if you can't win, I'll never win. She was a little black girl. And I'm like, great. Like when you put that kind of mantle, and you realize that there are other young ladies who are looking to you to see themselves and to see you accomplish something. It was in that moment I was like, well, I had to put my feelings aside and realize that this is much bigger than me, even in my platform, even, you know, all of those things that I have. And so I came back the 4th year, and to win that year, it was just amazing. And I was happy and content with just being Miss Virginia. Like I wanted to be the best possibly be. I went into Miss America with the sole goal of making top 15 or top 10. Just because I had family who had come to Las Vegas who had never been on a plane in their life. And so I wanted to make their trip worthwhile. So everything that happened after that was just icing on the cake, which is why I was kind of acting a fool and my earrings fell off. And I don't even think my mom was expecting the win. Maybe because if you go back and look at the clip, there's a picture of her and my dad walking towards the stage once they crowned Miss America, and she's still in her sneakers because my mom wears sensible shoes. She brings her cute shoes, but she wears sensible shoes. And she still had on her sensible shoes when she was walking to the stage. But that was amazing just to, you know, think about all the hard work that had went into that moment, both of those. It was just really gratifying for that to happen.
Okay, we do have a video of your crowning moment. Otis, can you get the video ready? I do remember when I was watching you at Miss Virginia, Miss America, I felt very confident. I think after your on stage question at Miss Virginia, I was like, she did it. And then when they announced Christy Cavender was first runner up at Miss America, I was like, she did it. I was watching like glued to the television, like, oh my God, she did it. And I was just thinking about how
I honestly thought that Christy was the winner. So when they called her as first runner up, you've been around enough pageants to know because they didn't do the first runner up and winner standing there. It was me with 3 others. And typically, and there's a girl who's still in the hunt and you can't quite put your finger on why. One of those girls, in my opinion, was still left. And I was like, oh, give it to Christy. Then clearly it's the other shocked because most of the time it's like, oh, well, that girl wanted to be interviewing because she's still here, you know? So yeah, so it was incredible.
So here's the video. We're going to watch your crowning moment at Miss America.
Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss America 2010 is Miss Virginia Caressa Cameron. Congratulations, Miss Virginia. You are the new Miss America. Yes way. Yes way.
Okay, so I would like to talk about your gown. You look so beautiful all the time, but especially at Miss America, it was a yellow gown. I think it's actually one of my favorites in like Miss America history. So can you tell us about the dress you wore?
So there's a really interesting story surrounding that gown.
Okay.
So the only thing that was right about the gown that I was crowned in was the color.
Okay.
So I originally went to market to design a gown with Sherry Hill. It was that color. I call it what was in my head. It was called the mullet dress. And it was basically form-fitting trumpet style, the same way that you saw, but it was a sweetheart top. And in the back, inside of where kind of like the trains come to a point and then they bellow out into that circle, that entire part was supposed to be rhinestoned. So it was going to be just like super sleek in the front, party in the back was like the plan. But things happened with like customs and getting the gown from there to here. That gown did not make it.
Okay.
And so a couple of days before I was supposed to, wait, that was yellow dress number 2. Yellow dress number 1, I had I had to go and pick an alternative yellow gown.
Okay.
And we had a send-off. And at that send-off, they asked me to model it, and I did. But the floor of the museum was like dusty.
Okay.
And so it had to be cleaned. And so I took it to the cleaners to get it cleaned. I'm packing for Miss America. My tour manager and everybody are there. We're packing. And my god sister's like, "Hey, I just want to see you in your gown one more time. Can you throw it on?" And I'm like, "Sure." Well, I wasn't like really sure. I didn't really want to do it, but I was like, "Sure."
Right.
So I went in, thank God, tried the gown on in my hallway bathroom at my mother's house.
Okay.
And I said, "Mom, the dress is short." And she was like, "What do you mean short?" And I was like, "I think it's shrunk." And she's like, "You're lying." She runs in the bathroom, and I'm on flat feet at this point. I don't have on heels.
Right.
And the thing was legit 4 inches short. And I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Okay, so this was not the gown that I originally wanted. This is my replacement gown, and now the replacement needs to be replaced.
Right.
So we call Sherry Hill, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, I will rush ship you a dress to Las Vegas to meet you there." And I'm like, okay. So she rush ships me a dress to Las Vegas, which was the yellow dress that you saw, but it was a size 6, and I was a good size 0 at the time.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to working out. And those sweet little ladies, the hostesses, became my seamstresses, and they tailored that gown for me so that it would fit.
What a story.
And so, emergency alterations, and there you have it. Was the yellow gown that I wanted, and it's a gorgeous gown. It just wasn't the original gown that I had pictured in my head.
It turned out great.
Which I would still like to see one day. Maybe I'll get it made just for giggles. But yeah, I mean, I loved the color. That was the main thing for me. Was wearing yellow. Because my little brother actually was the one who picked that color, and he was like, "I had a dream that you won Miss America, and you were wearing yellow." And I was like, "Well, we're gonna go with it and see."
I love a yellow
see if it was
gown.
right.
I love a yellow gown.
Oh yeah, yellow is amazing.
So you were a talent prelim winner at Miss America. You sang "Listen" by Beyonce. I love it. I love it. I love it. I have it on my phone. I listen to it sometimes. It kind of gives me strength or something. Seriously.
Aww.
So like, how did you come up with that rendition? Like, who helped you cut it or edit it like to that way? Yeah.
So I am a firm believer in letting people who do things well do those things well.
Right.
And I had heard through the grapevine that Bill Wolf was the jam, and I was like, okay. So I had actually found the song because it was a bonus track on Beyonce's album that year.
Right.
And I kept listening through the album, heard the bonus track, and I was like, ooh, I like this song. And so I sent the song to Bill Wolf, and I said, "I don't care what you do to chop this song up. I just need the first verse and the last note. You can figure it out from there."
Okay.
And he did, and it was an amazing cut. And I want to say that I think I ended up like sharing the cut the next year with a contestant who was like competing in Louisiana or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Because one of the things that he does, I don't know if people are aware of this, is that he will, if he has to build a custom track from scratch, and there's another contestant who's interested in that song, if you don't mind, they will split the cost with you so that you're not incurring thousands upon thousands of dollars to cut music. Because for me, part of going to Miss America was about collecting scholarship money. So it would not have been advantageous to spend more than I would have earned as a talent on the track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we have it. If you don't mind, we'll listen to it, and then I'll ask you some more questions. I
All
think I'll
right.
ask you about your platform after we listen to your talent. Here we go.
Awesome.
Listen.
Singing Listen from Dreamgirls, here is Caressa Cameron, Miss Virginia.
Listen to the song here in my heart, a melody I start but can't complete. Oh, the time has come for my dreams to be heard. They will not be pushed aside and turned into your own, all 'cause you won't listen.
And as I told you, someone told me that last note was everything. Yeah. So your platform was Real Talk HIV/AIDS in America, and I'm sure you've done amazing things with that. Can you talk about any memory or significant contribution that you made with your platform?
So I think, gosh, it's been so long. So for me, HIV and AIDS has been a part of my life's work since I was 12, 13 years old, because my family first fostered a little girl living with HIV. My family lost my uncle to complications with AIDS. And so I started the advocacy work then. And then in navigating Spotsylvania County Public Schools as a teenager, and realizing that they had very inadequate sexually transmitted disease education, wanting just to petition for people to be able to make healthy and safe decisions. And I think sometimes we don't give our young people credit enough to know that if we lay out all the facts for them, more often than not, they are going to make the conscious choice. I think we choose to magnify the bad choices that young people make sometimes. And it's one of those things where what you focus on, you magnify. And so I choose to focus on the fact that a lot of young people make healthy choices. And so I think one of my most significant contributions was changing the landscape here in the state of Virginia with what a holistic sexual education can look like. And then bringing the OraSure antibody test here, which was the oral swab, because for so long we were only doing the finger stick or the blood draw. And it was taking 2 weeks for people to get their results. And when people are scared to get tested anyway, adding a 2-week turnaround period is just, I mean, we're seeing it now with COVID. Like waiting 2 weeks to know, something that major is hard. So I think that was my major contribution, and I was given a congressional honor for it.
Wow.
And so that was really cool. And even now I still, continue my advocacy work for HIV and AIDS. And I don't think it's anything that'll ever end, because it's something that's really near and dear to my heart.
Amazing. So congratulations on your beautiful family. How is it being a mother?
Thank you.
How's motherhood?
So right now motherhood's a little challenging because I do have a daughter in the NICU. She was born 15 weeks early. And it's challenging because it's the case of the mom guilt. Like when I'm at the hospital, I feel guilty that I'm not at home with my son and I'm not being present with him. And then when I'm at home and I'm being present with my son, I feel like I should be at the hospital. It's like, why can't I just split myself in half and be 98 places at once? But I think what this situation has made me more aware of is, as a culture, we are very, and there's nothing wrong with this, let me preface it with that. We are very thoughts and prayers driven, which I think is great when thoughts and prayers are all you have, right? But in this situation, I have recognized, with being on the pediatric floor, and there are children living with cancers and all of these things and their parents, lay out very tangible needs, you know, things like GoFundMe's, or can you send a meal train to my house because I can't be there with my other kids or whatever.
Right.
We're so inclined to pepper people with thoughts and prayers, and it's like, well, everybody who had a thought and a prayer followed that up with an action.
Oh,
We could be a tangible answer to that
right.
prayer. And I think sometimes God has actually called us to be the answer to prayers instead of just petitioning heaven all the time. Like, we could actually do something. So
Amen.
I
Right.
am trying to be more vigilant. Like, you know, now I bring some of the mom's coffee. Like, I do whatever I can to brighten someone else's day. So it's not just a thought and a prayer. Like, I thought about you, I prayed for you, and I'm doing something.
I see.
So
I
yeah.
see. So I think I only have 3 more questions because I know you have a lot to do.
Oh.
My next question, can you tell us about Caressa by Design?
Yeah. So Caressa by Design is a full service event and wedding planning industry. I started this business about 7 years ago, and it was mainly because my background, work wise, was in development with nonprofits, and a lot of times that lent my time to planning golf tournaments and galas and, you know, all those things. And so as my friends began to get married, because I was the most organized one among them, they would come to me kind of for help. And then I was like, oh, I really like this. And so when my husband and I were, you know, just beginning to discuss family planning and what that could possibly look like, at the time I was commuting to DC. And I knew that I did not want to be on the road that much and trying to raise a young family.
Right.
And so I decided that I wanted to, you know, start my own business so that I could make my own hours and be present for my children,
I
and
see.
we could grow our family that way. And so it's been awesome to be able to do something that I'm really good at, and be my own boss. And so I love it.
Excellent. Excellent. So there's been a
Yeah.
lot of changes to the Miss America competition since you competed. What do you think about some of the changes, or what do you think about the future, you know, the future of Miss America?
Wow. And we could be here for months. But I think I'll kind of try to answer this with the 2 changes that I feel like are the most major.
Okay.
And what I feel like it could look like, or what we can do. Right now, in terms of to answering your latter question regarding the future, I think we are going to have to put some major time and major focus into bringing in sponsors that are going to create some kind of revenue right now. Because, you know, we are a nonprofit organization, that's true. But there are certain things, which we'll get to the next part of my answer, that we have not adequately invested in. And I think that's partially because we don't have the money to do it. I'm just going to be completely honest. And one of those things is strong brand and marketing management, somebody who has a track record both nationally and internationally, to make our brand stronger. So for instance, everybody knows right now that our competitor is kicking our butt in branding. Everybody knows Miss USA is confidently beautiful. Like, you could, you know, tip that off the top of your hat. We all know it. And I think right now when people say Miss America, we don't, other than there she is, we don't really quite have that. Well, who is she? You know, kind of thing. And then because we've been doing a lot of changes, it's also harder to figure out who she is among the changes. And I think one of the biggest changes that we made that, in my opinion, we should have taken a second look at, was the changing of the logo. Because the Miss America crown itself is iconic. Like, people recognize it. I don't know if anybody's watching The Masked Singer other than me and my family. But like, JoJo Siwa had it on her mic, and people recognized it. So to change something like that people recognize for the sake of change, apart from doing what they wanted to do, which I guess they wanted to separate or put a line in the sand between what Miss America was and what Miss America is. They definitely achieved that. I think it took away, though, some of the iconic branding that we always knew. And companies have done this for years. You know, they try something new, just want to throw something against the wall to see what sticks. But often and not, especially those big companies, you see that they revert back to their original branding, their original logo, because that's the thing that people know and love. And then, of course, you know, the big one of the elimination of the lifestyle and physical fitness and swimsuit competition. I have a couple of feelings surrounding that. Do I think that a contestant walking on stage and showing herself in a swimsuit has any bearance on whether or not she can do the job of Miss America? No, don't necessarily think that. But I do know that I have ran across many airports trying to make a connection flight as Miss America, and you can't do that if you're not healthy. That is for sure. But what I think I would have liked to see is maybe changing how we judged that particular competition. So for instance, because there has been a very European standard of beauty in general across the world, I would have liked them to take a girl's background into consideration. Like a curvy Black girl is going to look a lot different standing next to a skinny white girl, right? Or if I am a swimmer, I likely have bigger legs than the girl who is the softball player. So I would have liked maybe like the girl walks out in her swimsuit, we put a lower third up that says 22 years a softball player or 13 years a swimmer. And so then now I know why her body is shaped the way it is, and I judge her in comparison to what her physical fitness standards are, and not a comparison competition, if that makes sense. Because
it does make sense,
at the end of the day, you know, in the lyrics of the song, it says, there she is, Miss America, your ideal, right? So Miss America is supposed to be excellent, and she should be excellent in all things. And so to say that she can't be both stunningly beautiful, look great in a swimsuit, smart, be talented, and be community service minded is almost a slap in the face a little bit, because it's like, I should be excellent, you know, in all things. If I was going to choose to not be excellent, then I wouldn't be competing for Miss America. And so I think that she should, you know, stand out. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Excellent. Last question. There's thousands of girls out there who want to become Miss America. What advice would you give them for making that dream a reality? Yeah.
So I would say take the shopping cart method when it comes to critiques, because there are a lot of people who have been around pageants for years and years and years, and they tend to like to recreate the same contestant. And so they will give you the advice that worked for that girl or the advice that worked for that girl, instead of finding the things that are uniquely you and helping you make those things about yourself better. So like, for instance, I got a piece of advice many, many moons ago that I needed to cut some bangs because I have a big forehead, whatever.
Oh, goodness.
Bangs were not my look. I knew that, you know, but luckily for me, I was strong enough to pick and choose the advice that worked, and pick and choose the advice that resonated with me and still made me feel like me. Because there are some things that you can critique and that you can grow in and that you can change. And so don't be so stubborn that you don't have an ear to hear those things. But take into account the things that resonate with you. Like if someone's asking you to do something that is completely not you, is going to change you as a person, change you to the core as a contestant, you can only play pretend for so long.
Right.
And nobody wants a title holder who's playing pretend. Like we want somebody who is real and who's authentic. And so I say, pick and choose what works for you, shopping cart method, and go boldly towards the direction of your dreams. It's okay to, you know, in a way, be a little selfish, because as you are reaching for a goal like this, you have to be driven. And so there are going to be some things that you're not going to be able to do and things that you're not going to be able to participate in. And sometimes your friends might feel neglected or your boyfriend might feel neglected or whatever. But you're marching towards the direction of your dream. And I think while you're young and while you have the opportunity to do that, because, you know, as women, we tend to be nurturers and we tend to pour ourselves out and want to do and be for everyone. But we have the rest of our lives to be somebody's wife and somebody's mama and somebody's something. So in this season, do all you can for you to succeed in this area.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. I sincerely appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to amazing things from you in the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And best of luck to you on this show.
Thank you so much. All right. Welcome. Bye.
Bye.
To the viewers, once again, thanks for watching. That was our second episode with Miss America 2010, Caressa Cameron. Next, I'm interviewing Miss America's Outstanding Teen, Peyton May. If anybody has any questions, comments, or feedback, feel free to contact me. You can look me up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And I look forward to many more episodes. Thanks a lot and have a good day.